Hey, welcome back to the SDR Hire podcast. I'm your host, Srba, and if you are new to the channel, this is the place where you can learn from top producing salespeople what's like working in tech sales, how do you break in, what do companies look for, and how to succeed as an SDR, all for free. Happy holidays, guys, and wish you all happy new 2024 year. Today, I'm chatting with my friend David Wilkins. You can call him just Dave. Dave's been a director of sales development for EMEA at Snowflake for a year, responsible for coaching and development of 5 SDR managers and 50 SDRs, obviously responsible for driving the revenue growth in a unicorn company from the US. A little bit more on Dave's background. Dave moved to Netherlands 10 years ago to play rugby, believe it or not. He became a teacher and ended up working at a mayonnaise factory. That's cool. Obviously, want to learn more about it. On a more professional note, Dave started as a BDR at Palo Alto Networks back in 2013 when he moved to Netherlands. After Palo Alto had few more BDR roles in tech companies, from 21 to 23, Dave helped Solace to transition to pure SaaS play, where they built a scalable SDR model with 8 players. In 2023, the highlight of Dave's career is becoming a director of sales development at Snowflake, a unicorn computing-based data cloud company from the US with global footprint. How big is this company? I'll just give you the idea. It has like 250 SDRs globally, 85 SDRs in Amsterdam, and that was like a Dave's SDR team in Amsterdam. So impressive biography. Did I miss anything, Dave?
No, you've got it. Got everything there. Quite a crazy journey over the last years.
I have to start, Dave, by asking you, what's the British guy doing in Netherlands for 10 years now?
So it's actually 50. Yeah, 50. I studied at the university, the Free University of Amsterdam in 2008. I did my Erasmus scholarship there. And I also played rugby for the club in Amsterdam. The coach who was coaching in Amsterdam moved to another club in 2009 when I graduated from university. So I moved back on 2 weeks' notice and back to the Netherlands and just coached kids rugby for the first couple of years of my adulthood. And really, I moved back to the UK for 2 years between 2011 and 2013. And I was very grateful for the opportunity. Wanted to become a teacher, working at an amazing school, but I just loved the culture and the way of life in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I think everybody likes Netherlands, so no wonder why you decided to stay for additional 10 years and you are still living in Netherlands. So it seems it's working well for you. All right, Dave, that's a good story. On a more, let's say, serious note now, I have to start really by asking you, what is it like to run such a big sales development motion at Snowflake? I mean, obviously, having 250 SDRs globally, and I believe your SDR team in Amsterdam had like 85 SDRs. Those are really big numbers for enterprise. And obviously, as Snowflake is a unicorn, company from the US. So can you share a little bit just to give us some ideas? What is it like to run such a big SDR team?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's for sure. When you start your management career and you start to think about, okay, what is the gold standard of what you want as an organization, and then to move to a company like Snowflake where it has everything that you believe is right in a sales development organization. So incredible onboarding, incredible alignment between marketing, sales, other functions as well. The investment of people to make them better, be that individual contributor at the SDR level or then at the management level as well. And then it goes down to simple things like operations. We had our own SDR operations team at Snowflake. So to be able to think about an idea or a concept, they were able to actually create that, which was, it's incredibly lucky.
And out of those 250 SDRs globally, what was the size of your team in Netherlands?
So at about 50 SDRs that reported into myself, that had, the managers managed the teams, 5 of them, but it's big numbers that are needing to be generated in terms of revenue. And so then even bigger numbers when it comes to pipeline generation. So it makes sense when you look at it at a bigger picture, what is needed to be able to achieve the goals of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that also 5 SDR managers were directly reporting to you as well. So it's really a big challenge. Especially, I read somewhere that at Snowflake's EMEA region was pretty much responsible for 3 million out of projected 9 million by 2029, if I'm not mistaken. So those are huge numbers for enterprise.
8 billion, not million.
Billion, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's just huge number, and like with so many people, it's been a challenge. So you were obviously growing fast, and you had to make sure you have enough SDRs who could generate qualified opportunities. So I would probably ask you, how do you build a successful SDR team from scratch? Many startups today, they have this challenge and they don't know how to start from. So maybe you can share some tips. How do you really make your SDR team perform at a good level?
Yeah, I think we need more than an hour to go through it.
Yeah, that's true. That's for sure. Let's keep it within a minute, please.
So when I build out an organization, there's a few things that you really need to make sure you've got in place. It's what's the ideal customer profile? So who are we going after and why? Why are we going after these people? Making sure that we've got the total addressable market in place. So we know who's the profile of people we're going after, how big is the opportunity that they are going after? Is it going to be a big pond? Is it going to be a small pond to fish it? Then it comes down to the AE SDR alignment. Normally, you're looking for at the enterprise level about 3 account executives to 1 SDR ratio. Now that's less if you're a startup building up your team, then you can have more of a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 ratio, because it's all about just booking meetings and getting in there. The last thing is around identifying talent and onboarding talent. So you've got to, once you've identified the TAM, the ICP, the ratios, then it's all about identifying the right talent that you need. And it's like a deal. You're disqualifying out talent at the interview process, because you want to see, are they coachable? Can they handle rejection? Can they be resilient? Do they care? So there's lots of things that we do in the interview process. Identify, right? And then the onboarding is the most critical.
Yeah, you are right. You said some very good points. Let me just try to summarize. Obviously, understanding ICP and targeted persona is very important, right? And then addressing your TAM, like your total addressable market, and really having a clear idea who you are reaching out to, but then you also said like you really have to make sure you have A players in your team, right? Because at the end of the day, people, your SDRs need to generate qualified leads, and it's really important that you like onboard only like top guys. So when onboarding, Dave, maybe a question for you, like how important is to have an effective onboarding plan to ramp up fast? And what are some traits that you look for when hiring new SDRs?
Yeah, so let's start on the hiring piece. So our onboarding starts in the hiring process. So we in part of our interview, or part of the interview process that I think is really important, is to do role play as an interview step. You give the SDR candidate an account, and you say, we want you to give us a use case about why you think this customer would be a good fit for our company. Just 1 or 2 slides. And that shows that they've done their research, that they've thought critically of the accounts, they've done the research, they show they care, they show they have passion. And then we do a role play. And the role play is, again, we say, hey, I'm Dave Wilkins from X company, and you need to try and cold call me. And it's that piece of, again, taking somebody out of their comfort zone, and it doesn't have to be perfect. That's not what we're looking for, but we're looking for, have they done their research, their passion, their fire in the belly to go and just do this and handle constructive feedback that's going to make them better. So that's on the interview piece.
That sounds good, and I'm sure these are exercises done during the interview, I assume, right? Trying to like do some research on your ICP and probably doing some mock calls right there on the interview, just making sure they are a good fit for you guys. That makes sense. Obviously, Dave, it seems to me that you are passionate about coaching and developing of SDRs. So probably would like to ask you a little bit about the importance of coaching. You see, like there is this always discussions like what's the difference between being a manager and being a leader. And I somehow feel that the coaching part really sets apart leaders from managers. Like instead of asking SDRs just to do more calls and maybe send more emails and do more of this and more of that, really showing them how to do and being a player coach, right? Being really one of them, being in trenches and really working with your SDRs. So I can tell that you are passionate about coaching. So what's the importance of coaching? And can you share maybe some practical advices for us, like how do you do coaching and why is that critical for every SDR leader space?
Yeah. So from my sports background, you always want to train harder than the game itself. Because if you train super hard in a training, in a practice, then when you get to the game, it's never as bad. And so it's the same for coaching in sales development organizations as well. You want to have created an environment where talent has been onboarded properly, that they're given the space and the time to onboard properly, in terms of doing role plays, in terms of learning what the why, so what of a technology, that they understand where they are in the organization, and how they help benefit the organization. And then post that onboarding and they're ramping, you then want to still continue to have talent in role plays, in coaching situations where they can still be challenged in an environment where it doesn't mean it's not going to be like you're burning through leads. You're wanting to challenge somebody to help improve them and make them feel uncomfortable. So again, the training is easier harder than the game itself, than the call it.
So the coaching is really not about telling people to do more of this and more of that, but really like going and diving deeper and maybe, like listening their calls and maybe doing some calling along with your SDRs and trying to improve, working with them. I think that's more like coaching. And what I see often that like managers, they really kind of only look for input, like how many emails did you send, how many dials did you make, LinkedIn messages, and all of this that we do for inputs, and then we obviously look for the output. But there is really this middle metrics, the conversion rate that we should be looking at, and this is, I think, where the on-site coaching really helps, and like just kind of trying to improve, telling what to do and how they should do something differently, but really making them, think of some alternatives and really making them and helping them to grow and improve. And I think that coaching is really very important. And I would probably expect more and more leaders to start really having this coaching part, rather than just being like checking the inputs and output. Would you agree with me on this?
Yeah, I am one of those people that says, I don't care how you hit your target. Because at the end, if you're hitting your goal, fantastic. Let's learn from you what you are doing so we can replicate that in the wider group. The one thing I do ask is, if you're not hitting your target, then the inspection comes. And then we look at as you said, that middle top of funnel. Okay, let's look at the conversion. So why is your open rates of emails low? Why are your call volumes low? Why? And it's asking open-ended questions, because it could be something like, hey, we don't have the right technology to help us research an account. And it's like, okay, great. That's something that we could help with. Maybe it's somebody who's bilingual and they're writing emails in their second language and it's not as strong as their first. Reason why conversion rates going low. So then we could help people that way. So it's all about the whys. And then again, if you can fix those whys, if that person's coachable, has fire in the belly, then the outcomes, meetings or pipeline, that will come.
Yeah, awesome. I like this. And this is really approach that you are looking more on quality rather on quantity. And like sometimes it seems like managers are over obsessed with numbers and they keep monitor only numbers on a daily basis, but they really miss the coaching part. And I'm glad that you are kind of making this importance really, kind of for everyone to realize why the coaching is so important and what the differences can really make. Going back on your previous point about understanding ICP and knowing your TAM and the pain point that your product can solve, but none of this is really possible without having A players on the team, right? And I just wanted to ask you, how do we make sure A players stay in our organizations, and like when is it time for the promotion, and what is the role that we as SDR leaders play in promotions, right? Sometimes I see that A players they leave companies if they have to wait too long for promotion. And I assume you guys have a clear promotion path. So can you share a little bit on this with us?
Yeah. So again, it all starts back in the interview process. So when you're a candidate coming into the business, it's that psychological contract that you're signing with the employer. And I need to make sure that I give credit to Susan Suki, who taught me that psychological contract. Big shout out to Susan. And so once you've signed that contract with somebody, then their expectation is set. So if you tell somebody in the interview process, yeah, we've got, you have the opportunity to get promoted, then people will start to think, okay, I'm going to get promoted tomorrow. And so you need to really set expectations at the start. Now, and also what's happened over the last couple of years there's been an economic slowdown, interest rates are up, we've seen inflation rise. So organizations are having to cut their cloth accordingly. And so it might be that their growth plans that were set 18 months ago have been paused, and you need to wait. And who gets affected by that? It's mostly that kind of junior level of role to get promoted to the next stage. That's designated as a lot of risk for the business. So you have to really set expectations, be really clear communicatively about what's going on. And some people get it, and that's great. And other people are not going to have patience and will look elsewhere. But the thing I say to those people is, not going to beg you to stay. If you feel like the grass is greener, go. But have you done and then I ask a couple of questions about, have you done your due diligence about the company? Have you checked RepView? Have you checked Glassdoor? Have you actually spoken to people who are not in the interview, who are interviewing you, to understand what's really going on? Because we're also going to be suffering from the same economic challenges as our company. So why is it that be different? And that's the last thing I'd say is it's for how you develop talent and how you coach talent as well. So if you're developing people and you're giving them extra things to do to continue to push and drive them, then they're more likely to stay.
And it's really a big challenge for SDR managers to retain best talents, obviously, especially in the situation of economic downturn, recession, and we are all facing, really tough times. Overall, SaaS industry is not doing that great, and sometimes, we cannot really have these promotions as frequent as we would like. And just going back to your first point is really setting a very clear expectations from day one, like during onboarding, actually even before onboarding, we should have a really clear expectation. Sometimes we tend to overpromise, but then we cannot deliver. And I think that's the main issue. I mean, I don't think that top SDRs, they don't have problem if they have to wait a little bit longer, because I think we all understand that the circumstances are not like ideal. But we all hope that, 2024 will bring more opportunities, and there will be more opportunities for promotions and growth overall. But we need to set this kind of culture and really not overpromise something we cannot deliver. So I think that your point was great there. Just be very careful and, try to provide as much growing and, professionally, for opportunities for professional growth, coaching, and these are very important elements. And, hopefully there will be more opportunities for promotions of at least top performers, So I think that's a good point. Another day I wanted to ask you, since we are now already in 2024, and I think we are seeing some changes in SDR role, and they will even change more in 2024. SDR job is no longer just to book meetings, but they need to qualify leads before passing to account executives. So my question would probably be, should SDRs focus on booking meetings only, or taking discovery calls and asking qualifying questions before they pass on to account executives?
Yeah, that's a very good loaded question. I see there being an evolution of the role. Now, what does that consist of? Currently, SDRs are junior entry-level roles. You want them to start to learn the basics of the business, booking meetings, understanding why they're booking meetings with these people, the ICP, as we said, the TAM, really focus on those areas. One of the big things that you see as the challenge from SDRs who want to become individual contributors and close business is they don't understand the sales cycle. They think I book a meeting, I do a pitch, and I'm just given a check and business goes. And when I do have conversations with SDRs and explains them, let me show you what the selling cycle looks like, then you just see their eyes widen and their mouths go down. And it's like, oh, okay, there's actually a lot.
There is a lot more than just booking the meetings. Absolutely.
How can you bridge that gap? So I see there being an SDR evolution where when they do book meetings, SDRs must do a level of qualification. Absolutely. And then I see a couple of more steps where you have an SDR who is working within an account. So let's say they're in a major account, and you have SDRs that will go book those meetings, but do discovery meetings as well to really understand the depth and the breadth of what's going on, the challenges. I also can see this role on the SDR side, closing more run rate business. And so, again, maybe there's an account that they're working on and it's product-led growth, or it's for a small ARR we purchased via a credit card or there's only one person that needs approval and you're talking to that person in the business. I can see them working those deals as well. And if it gets really challenging, then you hand it off to the AE. But there needs to be an agreement then with the sales organization about, look, this is what you're going to get. This is the product. These are the criteria that if they're hit, they pass on to you and into your funnel. And it has to be objective. It cannot be a subjective. So it can't be, no, I don't feel like this meeting. I don't feel this meeting's good. No. If it's hit, bam, 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 bam criteria, there you go. It's yours. And I think there needs to be that kind of tough conversation needed on the handoff, both ends, to help with improving quality and increasing conversion rates.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to lie, even in my SDR team, we used to focus more on booking meetings. Obviously, we will trying to reach our ICP, and really targeting leads that have that need our product, obviously. And that was pretty much all. Once we would get, positive reply, we would really try to confirm the date and really send the invite as soon as possible. And we did not really bother with, having a more in-depth conversation and really trying to check if the lead is a good fit for us or not. But lately, we've been kind of really shifting our focus on more asking, qualifying questions and really doing qualification on our own, because we don't want to waste the account executives' time. We don't want to waste companies' resources. And obviously, we don't want to waste prospects' time, right? And I think the good qualification is a most critical step because it can shorten sales cycle and reduce potential churn. Because if customers don't need your product, but still end up buying it, it won't end up good and the customer will leave, right? So I think that the qualification from the very beginning, the qualification that is usually done by SDR is probably one of the most critical steps.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm a big proponent of making sure that you give the AE a certain level of qualification and giving it to them. And I think that's just needs to be a core deliverable.
Absolutely. Dave, you mentioned the SDR account executive relationship. Why is it important? Like, obviously, we understand that SDR's main job is to book meetings, and then account executives are supposed to close those deals, right? How to ensure that this partnership is effective? How does this work in Snowflake? What would be your experience, and like, how did you contribute to, let's say, smooth SDR account executive handoff?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most critical relationships in an organization, because there is a real misalignment of expectations of the SDR and AE relationship. And I don't think that's anybody's fault. I think it's an SDR is new. They have no idea what's going on. They're suddenly having to talk to all of these people. They're overwhelmed. And then on the AE side, you have people that join businesses who might have had no SDR support, who might have had different kinds of SDR models, and it's not given. They're not given the right enablement to make them really understand what the motion is, or it's bundled away in the rest of their onboarding when they're trying to learn about products, they're trying to learn about who their accounts are. And then suddenly it's getting lost what the relationship is. So I think it's really important that at the onset of the relationship that you start to really make clear the expectations of what the SDR will give to the AE and what the AE will give to the SDR. And that starts with a one-to-one document, which is quite basic, but it creates accountability between the SDR and the AE, and making sure that there's a one-to-one at least once a week. Because if you're an SDR who's new into the world of work and you're calling into accounts, you need to get feedback on, hey, are these meetings any good or not?
Yeah. That makes sense. And I would probably add something you mentioned before, having a really clear criteria of what makes qualified lead, so that we avoid any subjectivity, that we might have, because sometimes I see that SDRs and account executives, there is a bit of misalignment because the criteria are not like set in place, and they are not well documented either within the playbook or somewhere else, but this creates chaos, and then SDRs feel that their leads are not moving further because, SDRs are not doing a good job, and vice versa. So I think having the clear criteria and a regular communication, weekly calls where we discuss, the warm leads, and obviously marking and putting everything in the CRM and having this really good CRM hygiene. This is something we often miss. Those are all important elements for an SDR and account, those two teams to work together, because obviously when they are working in an effective way, that's when they bring the most, let's say, revenue growth, obviously, for the organization. Since we are slowly, coming to an end, I would probably ask you a few rapid fire questions. Let's go with the first one. Best SDR learning resource.
Your peers, sitting with your team, with your colleagues, learning from them. Learn by osmosis, I call it.
Wow, this is awesome. That's just, learning from top performers and asking your peers, sharing best practices. So good. Next one, best SDR skill.
Listening.
Best SDR creator to follow.
Andy Laws. It's Laws. He's sales development leader in the UK for a company called Braze, and his content is really someone I follow and always excited to see what he posts every day.
Nice. I'll make sure I follow this guy. I promise. Favorite SDR channel?
I think 2024 is going to be the re-emergence of cold calling. I think that's going to be, the differentiation between a good and a great SDR.
You don't think that robot bots will start making more calls?
Maybe in another century.
And that might even decrease the efficiency of the call calling channel overall. People don't want to talk with bots. We know that, but there are more and more robot bots calling nowadays.
Not going to happen.
All right, great. Next one. Favorite email or cold call opener?
I think it's, yes, this is a cold call.
Yeah. So not going to lie there. I know you don't like cold calling, but I'm just cold calling you. Don't. All right. That sounds good. And fair enough, And what's your favorite call to action?
I normally say, like, have you got time on this date? So normally, if I was to send you do a cold call, I would say, are you free Friday afternoon? We're speaking on a Thursday.
Do you include call to action in your first email?
No. I think you want to build value.
All right. I like that one. The last one, what's your favorite tech sales acronym?
Oh God, they're all so good. The problem is you forget that you use them, so that then it just becomes you just talk it. So I think if people that know me, you will know that I just use them, and I'm sure they're going like, huh? So I think I'm too indoctrinated to now know the favorite. They're all my favorite.
They are all your favorites. That's good enough. And Dave, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me under David Wilkins. You can see this face. Then you know you're in the right place. And also I run a newsletter every week called Mastering Sales Development, which is about sales development, revenue operations, leadership. That's out every Friday. So you can subscribe.
So people can find you on LinkedIn and subscribe your newsletter right from the LinkedIn profile. Great stuff. Dave, thank you so much for being my guest on this show. I hope we brought some value and interesting ideas for all SDRs and SDRs leaders out there. And hopefully the 2024 will bring way more success for all of us. The 2023 has been challenging quite a lot with the recession and with the economic downturns, and we just hope that the 2024 will be much better. And thank you so much for sharing the insights and interesting ideas with our audience. I appreciate this, Dave.
No worries, thank you.